Welcome back to smallcapvoice.com's online video series. Today, we're welcoming to the show Deep Green Waste and Recycling Incorporated. We've done a series of podcasts with the company over the years, and today we're going to be joined by video by both CEO Lloyd Spencer and COO David Bradford. Lloyd, let's welcome you to the show first. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you again.
Absolutely. And David Bradford, wonderful to meet you and to get the opportunity to speak with you today.
It's great to meet you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Lloyd, as you put it, David is the driving force behind the acquisitions for the company. If you would lay the foundation for us today, Lloyd.
Yeah, so David is a chief operating officer. He has a long history in mergers and acquisitions and in business development. In fact, Dave and I both share a little bit of history in the telecom and the cable space. So Dave, why don't you just kind of go over a couple of the things you worked on in the past in acquisitions?
Well, I started out in cable television back in the late 70s, working for the Chicago Tribune. To the publishing companies, the large ones in the industry at that time were getting into franchising large metropolitan areas in cable television. And I was fortunate enough to be either in the driver's seat or the navigation seat for a lot of that development over the course of that 10 years or so. And kind of graduated from the realm of franchising, building systems, growing revenue and cash flow, and evolved into doing business combinations, acquisitions of other cable television. And
so it was, what I found really interesting working with Dave is that we were able to, for example, with Amwaste. So Dave identified the company, he identified the opportunity. We did the business modeling together, and I say that Bill Edmonds and Dave and I make a terrific team in pulling together all these numbers, if you will, and also to understand the company itself. And that's worked extremely well in the case of Amwaste, and even better in the case with Lyell. And we'll talk more about Lyell in a little bit, but I have to say, just as you mentioned, that Dave has really been instrumental in us being able to take Deep Green and integrate two new businesses really in about a 1.5-year time frame.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, and let's use it with the backdrop of recent news for the company. Yeah. Once again, ticker symbol DGWR. Here's the dateline, November 15th. Here's the headline. Deep Green Waste and Recycling reports profitable third quarter, but even more than that, within the subheadline, company improves balance sheet by eliminating over $600,000 in debt. Notes payable. This is a big news release for the company, a watershed moment, if you would, Lloyd. And that shows that management and how well the three of you work together in progress. Tell us a little bit about the driving factors in this news.
Yeah, really in this quarter, we were able to pull together a net income of $268,000 and $576. And that's a positive change of almost $500,000. And that really shows that in this quarter, we were very focused on not only the net revenue from operations, but also bringing down that debt in the company. So it makes the company far more attractive to working with our investors. And in fact, the two investors we're working with right now on the S1 that we just filed, they're very enthusiastic about this business, in part because we're here to drive revenues, and the Lyell acquisition is going to help that immensely. Even starting, well, we've already started doing that, but also it's going to help us to further drive down debt, and it's going to help us to be able to raise further funds for further acquisitions down the road. Which, by the way, David's working on right now. He's working on, in fact, a couple more as we speak. So there's a lot more to come, and you'll see in the coming quarter, the one we're in right now, that our top line revenue, our bottom line revenue are both going to be improving. I'm still working on a few more debt reduction type of projects right now, but you'll see the company overall continue to improve step by step by step.
Well, David, let's get your take on that news then, as well as some of the benefits you see forthcoming from the Lyell acquisition, as Lloyd just pointed out.
Well, sure. The Lyell acquisition is typical of the type of property we're trying to bring into the company. What we've decided to do strategically is to seek out acquisition opportunities that are in high gross profit margin types of business, and environmental services and debris removal have exceptionally high gross profit margins, combined with on the environmental side in particular, a wide open market that is just beginning to blossom, and couple that with the fact that that segment is highly fragmented. There are a lot of smaller companies that are 5, 10, 15, even 25 years old that were set up either as sole proprietorships or as closely held companies that are out there to be consolidated under a common business model. And that's what we found with Lyell. Lyell is basically the prototype of the
Indeed.
3 or 4 acquisitions we're going to bring on. It's highly scalable. The unit economics are scalable at least 4 or 5 times. The optimization of their current capacity right now is about 65%, meaning we can grow 35% without too many assets. And then we just clone the business and expand the model after that, and combine that with other like acquisitions that we can support all the G&A with a common structure underneath all of them. So we're essentially capturing gross profit margin in the 60-65% range across the board.
Well, that's a perfect transition then to you, Lloyd, and talking about scalability within just Lyell, but within this industry as a whole. As we just pointed out through David, there are plenty of companies that have this sort of 35% void that you can now take and take that from the 65% to, you've got a lot of room to play with, I guess we should say.
We do. So Dave points out very well that we'll be working with Lyell, which is a terrific team of people, to help them grow the business organically. Part of that is, just as Dave mentioned, is that utilization wise, they can grow immediately. But moreover, there's I'll call it sort of the cloning process, which is we can take those operations, we can put another group of people, small group of people in a nearby geography, help those people learn and grow the business again. And you can do that 2 or 3 times. So that's how you can see a company like this grow 2 or 3 times its size in really in a short matter of a year or 2. And on top of that, as we are looking at other acquisitions, and there are quite a few small companies, as Dave points out, that are in this environmental services space. And Dave, I would characterize the environmental services as a combination of asbestos removal, some cases with lead removal. What are some of the others that you see?
Well, it's primarily asbestos, lead, and mold. And
mold, that's right.
And we also do hazardous cleanup, meth sites, crime lab things.
Even near airports and gas stations. Some of those kind of companies too.
Well, the preponderance of asbestos in this country is it defies description. Even airport runways are underpinned with asphalt. And I think we're in the right place at the right time with respect to the infrastructure projects that are about to launch. And that's one of the things we're trying to get as many people credentialed up within the company. And credentialing in environmental services is somewhat of a barrier to entry to folks who are not already in the business. It takes a while. Everyone has to be certified, and it's an entirely different kind of business in that respect. But it's asbestos, lead is going to be big in the infrastructure. Mold is always there. And that revenue, it's half residential, half commercial, but it's everywhere. It was a surprise to me to learn that 25% of the biomass on this planet is fungal.
It is true. It is very true. Yeah, I think what we'll be doing is we'll be looking now for, first of all, just growing and hiring in the Southeast over where Lyell is. But also we're certainly looking for acquisitions of companies that are very knowledgeable of asbestos, lead, mold, without a doubt. I guess that lets the Northwest in for sure. So that's how we expect to see this company grow. And I'm looking forward to private companies coming forth that are looking to become part of a larger family, where we can raise the capital, help them provide the assets and that needed to grow their business as it is, and moreover train more people. The training is so critical to this business that we want to make sure we provide the education and training to help each of the companies within Deep Green to help them grow.
Yeah, a lot of exciting takeaways so far in this interview, talking about the scalability, but the opportunity to grow the family, as you just talked about, with further acquisitions. You also mentioned the scaling up of within Lyell and completing all the revenue ramp up for that company. So much room for them to grow. Lloyd, let's wrap up the interview now. You're the CEO of the company. Let's talk a little bit about how 2021 really shaped up for you and what we can expect in 2022.
Yeah, so in 2021, we definitely have gotten our, we've now brought in a couple of acquisitions which are going to help us bring in both the top line, the bottom line revenues. Next year, I'm expecting us to grow considerably on the top line and the bottom line. And I will end up taking out some additional debt down below so that overall the company will be dramatically healthier by the end of next year compared with now. And I think what you'll see is Dave and Bill and I, we're working on the next set of acquisitions that are already in the pipeline. And you will see probably a couple of acquisitions next year, one of which would be sizable. So I'm looking forward to seeing our revenues grow. I won't give a percentage, but it'll be very significant. How's that? And the same on the bottom line revenue. So I think we're going to see overall net profits next year, which are going to be very positive for all our shareholders and employees combined.
Well, I guess you just gave them an early Christmas gift with that news. David, so wonderful to meet you. Thanks for speaking with us today.
Thank you very much.
All right, for David Bradford as well as Lloyd Spencer, two parts of the three-part dream team there at Deep Green Waste and Recycling, ticker symbol DGWR. I'm Stuart Smith of Small Cap Voice. Thanks so much for tuning in today.